What's up, friends? Welcome back. Seed oils are going mainstream. Maha, Make America Healthy Again. RFK is out there talking about it. Trump's talking about it. Doctors are on national television talking about the problem with 70% of our diet being ultra-processed foods and the main source of our calories coming from these chemical, industrial lubricant fats known as seed oils. Remember, heart healthy or maybe not. So let's scour the internet. Let's pull up some clips and let's see what we can find today. Our first clip up today is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This was from his very moving interview that he gave when he chose to officially drop out of the presidential race and join the Trump ticket. And it was really the birth and the inception of the Make America Healthy Again movement. So let's roll this one.
We spend more on healthcare than any country on earth, twice what they pay in Europe. And yet we have the worst health outcomes of any nation in the world. 2/3 of American adults and children suffer from chronic health issues. 50 years ago, that number was less than 1%. So we've gone from 1% to 66%. In America, 74% of Americans are now overweight or obese, and 50% of our children. 120 years ago, when somebody was obese, they were sent to the circus. There were case reports done about them. Obesity was almost unknown. Half of Americans have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. When my uncle was president, I was a boy. Juvenile diabetes was effectively non-existent. A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes during his entire career, a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic, and the mitochondrial disorder that caused diabetes also causing Alzheimer's.
He's right, too. You know, Alzheimer's is colloquially being called type 3 diabetes now, an insulin-resistant brain. And what he said, though, 1 in 3 children diabetic or pre-diabetic now, like regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum, everybody should be galvanized by that issue. It is just not right. Something is very, very broken. And it seems that throwing money is not the solution. If we spend more money than anywhere else in the world, yet we're the sickest, well, that ain't the solution. Something else has to change.
And it's costing this country more than our military budget every year.
That's another really interesting point, that this disease burden, this chronic sickness burden is costing more than the military budget. And I don't know how many zeros are on the end of a military budget, but it's a lot of them. Adjacent kind of argument to that there is it's a national security threat. This will bankrupt the country. Not only do we not have people fit enough to serve in the military if God forbid we ever needed to fight a war, we can't afford this burden on the country. The debt is exploding and our health debt is something that nobody wants to pay in the future because it's dire.
There's been an explosion of neurological illnesses that I never saw as a kid. ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, Tourette's syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, Asperger's, autism.
That's a really important point. I'm the same. I didn't see these issues growing up when I was a kid, and I'm like half of Bobby's age, but I didn't see that much ADD, ADHD. I don't remember seeing a kid in my school growing up with autism. And this argument's always like, well, yeah, we've got better diagnostic tools now. But you see these things. It's clear when somebody's clearly struggling with their health. It's not, you don't need a test to know when somebody is really struggling with attention. And these boys, these rambunctious young boys that can't sit still in classrooms now, and instead of asking the questions like, well, how late were they staying up last night? What did they have for breakfast? We just want to throw medications at them because they can't sit still. Well, yeah, no shit, they can't sit still. They are under artificial lights all day long, living off seed oils, living off sugar, living off Red 40, and we're surprised that these things are exploding. It makes no sense.
Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication.
1 in 4 women are on antidepressant medication. That's kind of crazy. You know what you see as well is this kind of weird trend online, like hot girls take Xanax and, hot girls take SSRIs. It's almost like celebrated now. And you see these, yeah, slay queen, get on your antidepressants. And I'm all for people getting the help they need, make no mistake, but why is nobody asking the question that RFK Jr. is talking about here? Like, why is 1 in 4 women on antidepressants? Why is that a thing? That should not be a thing. If we were in a healthy society, I don't think 1 in 4 women need to get a prescription for an antidepressant drug. That does not seem normal.
And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. The first and the worst is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils.
There it is. Seed oils, the big villain in this story. Ultra-processed food make up about 70 to 75% of the average child's diet. Like seed oils, refined artificial colors, God knows what's sprayed on it. Thousands of pounds of glyphosate sprayed all over our crops these days. This is what's really driving the problems that we're looking at here.
For 19 years, I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump.
I just want to say, I think Bobby's the man. I feel like I can trust him. I feel like he's genuine. The fact that he's getting emotional during that clip, talking about how he prayed every day to be put in a position where he can solve this crisis. Like if you watch that and you're not moved by that, or you feel like this guy is an ulterior motive driven person, then your radar is just off. This is a guy that clearly cares and he wants to make America healthy again. And that again should be an issue that all of us want to fix. And it seems like until Bobby stepped on the scene and partnered with Trump, nobody was having this conversation.
But he is a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man who loves the people of this country as much as anybody can love the people of this country. So, Bobby, please say a few words. Thank you very much.
I've watched a few of these rallies. The reception that Bobby Kennedy got when Trump introduced him, coming out to the Foo Fighters, the cheering, and just like the standing ovation, that tells you something. And by the way, let's not gloss over the fact that this is a man from the most famous Democratic Party in the United States that's ever existed. This is a lifelong Democrat who was treated so abhorrently by his own people, his own party, that he joined the quote-unquote enemy. And now we have this unity party. Now we have Trump and Elon and RFK and Tulsi. Like, this is the movement. This is the unity ticket. This isn't even the Republican ticket. This is the Make America Great Again, the Make America Healthy Again party. And I say, choo-choo, let's go.
Oh, you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease. And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Let's go. And here we have less than 1 week later, Time magazine. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Somebody smelling some gaslighting incoming here. RFK tweeting, this is how they tell liberals what to think. Time before and after Trump made America's food quality crisis a centerpiece of his campaign. So on the left, you see why ultra-processed foods are so bad for you. And on the right, what if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Like I said, gaslighting at the highest level. The problem here is that we have a culture where about 80% of people only read a headline. They don't actually click on the article. They don't care. They are just looking for something that affirms the packaged suite of beliefs. We don't really have that many people that are truly free-thinking individuals anymore. They've adopted a whole suite of ideological beliefs based on who they align with, and they're looking for the evidence that supports it so they can hit retweet, like, and share and say, yeah, well, ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think, so make America healthy again, and all these crazy people talking about seed oils really are just blowing smoke up your ass. No, this is what matters, and the reason they want to push this down your throat as much as they do and tell you, gaslight you, to think something like 75% of our food being ultra-processed food is okay, or it's not as bad as you think, is a blatant lie. And anybody with eyes willing to see can look around and know that it's a lie, because we're sick. We're sicker, fatter, weaker than we've ever been, and the food is at the center of all of it. What I thought was interesting is this original Time article went pretty viral because people were saying, hey, this is wrong. This is nonsense. This is bullshit. And they changed the article's title probably within 24 hours or something like that. They updated it to why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra-processed foods. So they made it sound a little more heroic of a tale. And what they do then is they go in and they start to pick on a lot of these political issues. They start to talk about privilege and that ultra-processed foods are something that only minority communities, low-income communities can feed. Therefore, if you slam these foods, you're essentially a racist or a food elitist, and this is problematic. So they try and always pull on these emotional heartstrings to make you feel like a bad person for wanting to right the health crisis in our country. That's not cool.
RFK, obviously, a lot of controversy around him as far as his political views, joining up with forces with him. But one of the things he does talk about that I think resonates with a lot of people is our health, our food. Yeah. America has gotten fatter. We've gotten less in shape. We've gotten more unhealthy, more addicted to a system. As we spend more in healthcare, people get less healthy and more addicted. He's talked about things like banning seed oils. Half of our ingredients in our food is banned in Europe. Would you help him on his journey to start banning some of those things?
Well, there are places, and he's shown me what I've seen over the years. It's been strange. They do less and they're more healthy, the people. They do less to the food with chemicals and various other things. And yet the people are seemingly more healthy. And we have to get down to that. And he's very much into that.
Trump's getting it. You know, this is a guy that has openly said he drinks Coca-Cola and eats McDonald's. Like, Trump isn't the epitome of the healthy guy. Like, we get that. But RFK being in his ear and having him wake up to some of this stuff, exactly like he said, there are countries, many countries, developed Western countries where they're doing less to the food, they're treating it less, they're banning chemicals, and their health outcomes are significantly better. And we need somebody that gives a shit about this at a high level to start getting into these institutions, righting the wrongs, and fixing the crooks and the cronies that have been corporately captured by these agencies to actually do something about this. Otherwise, we can't just go to the grocery store, buy foods, feed our families, and expect to have healthy children because the foods are poison themselves. Something needs to change, and it's beyond being a grassroots movement because we're trying to feed millions of people sick food. Millions of people eating sick food in a sick system, in a sick store, in a disease economy is a recipe for disaster.
This pediatrician had less than a day of nutrition training in all their years of medical school. They don't even know what seed oils are when they ask about them.
I don't know who that lady is, but I love the passion, and she's dead on. Doctors do not get educated on nutritional information. Therefore, going to your doctor and getting nutritional advice from them is kind of like taking your car to get fixed by a plumber. It doesn't make much sense. And it's not because doctors aren't good people. They got into this line of work because they want to help, but they don't have the tools. They don't understand root cause. They don't understand what's happening with the chronic disease epidemic because they are trained to look at symptoms and treat with a drug. The system is broken. And until we learn better and update these and have these difficult conversations like, why is 70% of our calories coming from ultra-processed foods? Why are we consuming completely unethical amounts of seed oils, engine lubricants, things that aren't even designed to be eaten? Then these are the questions we need to be asking. And doctors, they don't know about this stuff. They don't have the time. They're not in the system that can talk about root cause. And if we keep playing this game, the outcome is clear. We're heading headfirst off a cliff.
Can you explain quickly seed oils? Because Dr. Kate Shanahan, she came on the show. They are the Hateful Eight. Canola, soybean, corn, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, red bran, and cottonseed oils. Good oils would include avocado, coconut. What else?
Olive oil, coconut,
right,
avocado, and then things like ghee and beef tallow, duck fat, things like that. Things that are much more natural and have been less refined. These are fats that our bodies have evolved to eat over millennia. The issue with seed oils, which is one of the most controversial topics right now in the world for whether they're healthy or not, I think you've got to back up a little bit and realize a couple things. One, that this is now the predominant source of calories in the American diet is these seed oils that are in everything. They are in every processed food. They're in salad dressings.
So hard to find food without
marinades.
them.
You can barely go to Whole Foods and find a food without seed oils anymore.
Yeah, she makes some super important points there. Like, even I think in the past, it's been assumed that if you are in the position where you can spend the extra money and go shop at Whole Foods, that you're automatically going to be healthy, because Whole Foods is the place that carries the healthiest foods, right? But then you go and look at the hot bar or the cold bar or any of the snacks, like 80% of the stuff in there, seed oils, canola, rapeseed, safflower, corn oil. And what's worse is we need these doctors stepping up. Dr. Kate Shanahan, Dr. Casey Means, like, these people need to voice their opinion, because our locus of authority as a people, as a culture, has been placed in the doctor, has been placed in the lab coat. So we need brave, courageous people to stand out and say, hey, you know what we're doing isn't working. And these other highly credentialed PhDs saying that seed oils are totally fine because they've got the American Heart Association stamp of approval, heart healthy on the bottle, is not the full story. And it's clearly not working, because if you look at the single biggest dietary change in the last 100 years, it is unequivocally the introduction and mass production of seed oils. And if you map that onto every health trend that is exploding, which is not a good thing, by the way, obesity, diabetes, chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases, retinopathy issues, Alzheimer's, they all map perfectly as we start to consume more and more seed oils. It's not rocket science, folks. I know that the evidence-based crowd love to say, oh, the appeal to nature fallacy, this is just a bunch of hippies. No, there's probably some ancient wisdom that has been lost in how we should live based on how we evolved to live. And guess what? Your ancestors weren't eating engine lubricant, and they'd think it bloody insane if they saw you doing it too.
Last Friday, I had on Dr. Martin McCary, and I was saying, okay, we want to get nuts, just healthy nuts for the kids to snack on, right? So you go, good luck finding a nut. The only ones you can find is maybe pistachios and macadamia nuts that haven't been treated with canola oil.
Treated with canola oil is probably a good way of saying it. I don't even know if she did that intentionally, but you're not really cooking in it, you're treating it. This because it's a chemical, nasty, engine lubricant adjacent food. It's food-like substance. It's not actually edible from nature, like the coconut oil, like the butter, the ghee, the low PUFA, lard, the tallow. These are the foods and the fats that you should be prioritizing. These are the foods and the fats that they've been demonizing for the last 60 years so they can so conveniently sell you the very cheap to produce, nasty, deodorized, chemically bleached seed oils that get that nice little seal of approval and say heart healthy for you and your family, when the evidence tells us anything but.